Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. We are playing Roblox today, Roblox Studio. So this video is going to be the beginning of our sort of uh, combat system series that we're going to do. We're going to get into all kinds of sorts of things. There's some really neat things we're going to do, missiles and that sort of stuff as well. And then we'll incorporate that into probably vehicles. So that way you can build or design your game and you can have vehicles and missiles and guns and all that cool stuff. And so I stress the importance of customization, and for a number of reasons. When you design a weapon in a game and you label that weapon as a common weapon that people use in other games, unfortunately, people are going to be comparing the weapons they use in the other games to the weapon in your game. And if it's not, doesn't shoot the same, have the same look, all that kind of stuff, people are going to kind of they'll detract from it, right? So all I'm saying is that customization is good. You can design your own scope, and people can't critique your scope against other scopes because it's unique to you and your style, and it works with your game. So, why I say that is because when we get into the actual shooting of the projectile, when it comes to customizing the velocity and how it shoots and where it shoots, it's totally customizable. So in my case, I make that a little random, so that way it's not 100% accurate every single time. But if you want to make it accurate, you can. So I'm just throwing that out there. So first thing we need to do is we need to make the gun itself. So we need to insert a part, and then we need to right-click. We need to insert object, a tool. You can name the tool whatever you want. We're gonna name this pistol. Okay, this needs to be renamed handle, just like that, and then. Now, we need to put the handle inside the tool. Now, if we interact with the object, we'll pick it up and we're holding it like a tool. So now what we need to do is we need to scale it down. And see how it fits in the player's hand. Right now, I'm leaving it on the ground. I'm not going to put it inside the backpack yet because we need to see how it looks. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Bit of a long clip, but that's basically what that's going to be. That's where the ammunition, And then we can take this and we can duplicate it and we can rotate it. Okay, now we need to change this to whatever shooter. This is going to be, we need this later on. I'm just going to make all the names unique, so that way it's not like, because this is kind of kids. Kids are going to be watching this. Alright, so then what we need to do is we need to weld this to here. There we go. Just like that. So it's a bit long. This part here is a bit long. We can scale that back. I don't know. Like I said, you do what you want to do. I'm just using blocks just for this video as this example. Perfect. It looks the same. Okay, good. So the next thing we need to do is we need to add the shooting part where we hold the trigger and it shoots a projectile. Cool. Just like that. So then we can make this, make it black so we can't tell how bad it is. It's just a black, it's a black object. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to add the code. So we just go to Insert, Object, Local Script. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, I am going to check the one that I already made here. And I didn't actually use that. The client only fire. So there's two, let's cover that. So if you create a local script and we just tell the gun to shoot, let me just add some code. Let me just add some code and it should shoot, I think. Don't worry, we'll be going over the code and all that sort of stuff, so. bullet is not a valid member of. Shooter McGavin. All right. Insert object. Actually, did I need that? Did I end up needing that? It doesn't matter. Okay, we're just trying to get this to work. I'm just doing this for the video here. What do I need? I think it's a string value and it just needs to be named player. There might be one more value I'm missing. I'm just showing this as an example, right? So, not part of the handle edit. What's going on here? Oh, yeah, we also need ammo. Okay, so let's back this up. All right, let's back this up. Let's back. Insert object. We need a number value. And then this is going to be ammo. And the number is going to be 10. So you got 10 shots. So we're going to go through this. I'm going to back this up. All right. I thought it was just going to be a quick thing, but it's not. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Now, we're starting with our blank script, our local script. Okay? So, we don't want to use a local script. A local script isn't going to work. Where it could work is if you wanted to add a flashlight, seeing as how we're looking at it this way. If you wanted to add a flashlight to this thing, oh boy. Oh boy, I'm just trying to rotate it. Come on, let me rotate you. Yeah, there we go. Holy cow. Okay, so let's say we just wanted to add like a flashlight to it. Then what you do is you just need a local script, and then that way every time you equip it and you click the mouse, the flashlight can come on and off, or another button. So we're kind of going to do that. So you can turn this weapon into a fancy weapon, just like we've done with the hats and all the other accessories that we've made so far. This 2 blocks here can become something really incredible and really fancy in your game if you choose to do that. Okay, so the second thing we want to do, now that we have our 2 blocks, we just have our basic gun. We need to add a few things. Okay, I'm using the pistol that I already made as an example. But what we need to do is we need to figure out how do we get the player to activate the weapon, right? So we need a couple of things. We need an interface. So if we look at starter GUI, we just go insert object, a UI, where's it here? Screen GUI, and then we just name this pistol. Okay, and now inside here we want to go insert object. We need a text button. It could be an image button, it could be anything. We just need something that when the player clicks on it, we know that they've clicked on it. Then we need to go insert object, a aspect ratio constraint, and what was it? I think it was like 1.7. Like that, 1.9, I don't even know. Fit with the max size, whatever it is. Something like that. It won't really matter because your mouse is always going to be in the center of the button, but I'm just trying to make sure that it's large enough on the screen. What if we go with height? Trying to cover as much of the screen as possible. Because your mouse is going to be it's going to be stuck down here when this thing opens up. When you have the gun and you're looking around, I guess. Yeah, I guess. What was the scale with parent size? Non-positive value must be positive. All right, 2.5. Right? 2.5. That's just the upper part of the screen. All right, I don't really know a whole lot about that, but that's basically all I did. Okay, so then in here we need to insert object. We need a local script for the interface. We need an object value. All right, we need an object value for our interface. And what did we name that? I think I named it gun. Okay, and then this is the script that we're going to be looking at. All it does is it just says when you fire the gun, you're going to fire the remote event. So now why do we need to do this? Well, if you just set the gun up, so with a local script inside the pistol, when you click the mouse, it shoots a projectile. That projectile is only going to be seen on the client side. Anybody else in the game isn't going to be able to see the bullet. So you're not really going to have a great game because you won't be able to shoot at anybody. So what we need to do is we need to tell the server to create the bullet on the server. And that's why we need to bind the interface to the player. It kind of makes sense. It'll make sense as we go along here, but that's basically all we're doing. So then we need to just say local UI equals let's see, script parent, and we can say local gun equals script parent value. I think it's, we do value or do we just do value? Yeah, that's it. We also need to get the mouse of the player. Do we still need to get the mouse? We'll try it without the mouse first. This part here might just be redundant. I just grabbed that. So, but this is what we want to do. We'll take this. We'll take this. All right. So just copying and pasting here. Local mouse equals game.players.local player, which is the local player, me interacting with the client, and what it's going to do is it's going to grab my mouse. Then we're going to say mouse dot mouse button 1 down, mouse dot button 1 down, right? Connect function. So while you're holding the weapon, and anytime you're holding the weapon, any direction, as long as you click the mouse, it's going to fire. That's all this does. Then what we want to do is we want to say gun, fire server, and then we want to say fire, right? Just like that. So what it's going to do is it's going to tell the server to fire the gun. That's it. So to connect this and to make sure it's working, what we then need to do is, I think we're done with this, okay? I wonder if I need the text button then. I don't actually think I need the text button for this, do I? No, look, you don't even need the text button for that. So I don't even need to worry about that. We don't need to worry. There you go. So what you're doing is you're binding the mouse button to the interface. So when yeah, it's cool. That's actually kind of cool. So we don't even need the button. Delete that. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to drag this interface into the handle. What we also need to do is we need to insert an object. We need a proximity prompt. And then we also need insert object. We need a script. This is going to be our functions code. Functions, okay? So that can interact with this. You can bind other keys on the keyboard into this interface, and that way when you're holding the pistol, if the player taps on other keys, it can do other things. Flashlight maybe, turn on a, I don't know if you have neon on the side, maybe you make a better upgraded weapon, and they press a button and the neon turns on. You know, like all that sort of stuff, right? It upgrades the iron sight. Maybe it goes into a scope, something like that. We'll cover that later on, but this is the beginnings of that, right? So this is just a basic, simple combat system. This is what we're designing. So we're going to need 2 scripts. We need to insert another script into the proximity prompt. So the proximity prompt, local button equals script.parent. All right. button dot triggered connect function, right? So when the player activates the proximity prompt, what's going to happen? We can say button. So first, the action text on the button is going to say load weapon. This is going to clone the interface to the player so they can fire. That's why they have to activate the prompt. We can't do it with a click detector because they're already holding the object in their hand, and I just don't think I can bind it that way because we're binding the mouse to the fire function. So in this case, we're using prompt, okay? So we just say button. No, we don't want to. Oh, yes. That's fine. So it'll say load weapon. So then when it's triggered, we need to clone the interface. So what's the code that we need for that? The cloning code. Aha, this is it here. So we need to say, where is the interface? All right, where's the interface? Well, so we'll say local UI equals script dot parent dot parent 1 2 3 dot pistol. Oh, is it 4? No. Script 1 2. Yeah, dot pistol. I wonder if there's 2. Yeah, dot pistol. All right, perfect. So now we need to say. Right. So let's go over these 3 things first. The first thing we need to do is we need to set this value here. We need to insert an object. We need a remote event to this value here. And this can also be actions, okay? So we need to say UI.gun.value. In this case, it'll be pistol. Oh no, it'll be value. Right? Because we didn't name it. So, and it needs to equal script.parent.parent.actions, okay? So why is that important? Well, when the interface is open and we click the mouse, it is going to fire, it is going to take this variable here, and that variable is going to be the value of this, okay, this object value. Then this remote event is going to read this and go, oh look, a variable has been thrown to us, and this is going to be in the function script, okay? And then it's going to say, well, what do we do? Saying, look, the value of this is now functions, the script picks it up, and it's going to do something, okay? So first we need to, so that's what we're doing, is we're binding it. Once we bind it with the code, it tricks all this and it makes the action happen. If you don't do this, it's not going to do anything. That's the important part of that, okay? The next line here, we should put player in here because you're the one that's activating the interface. It's going to clone the interface from here to the player. Now you have to be careful. There's going to be an interface on the handle and there's going to be an interface on the player. So this is why, depending on what you do, anyways, yeah, we'll explain that. I'll go through that. This is supposed to be really simple, so, and I've already made it complicated. Then what we want to do is I just turn the script off. I don't necessarily have to. We could say script.parent.enabled equals false. Oh yeah, that's what it turns the proximity prompt off, so it's no longer visible, right? So now you're just using the weapon. Okay, and then the last 2 things I've done here. These are just other variables that I need, okay? If we need to name the player for whatever reason, I'm doing that. I don't need that. And then, of course, we're playing this sound, which is the gun reload sound. So that is this one here. We're going to copy that. I took that out of the toolbox, so you can just go into the toolbox. You can look for the sound. The right-click handle. Actually, here, we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll go home. We'll go to the toolbox. Look at audio. and gun reload, and it was the first one here. And then you just click on it, and now it's inside our weapon. And then what we want to do is we want to say script.parent, gun reload, and then semicolon, and you just press play like that. Perfect. So now let's see what happens. What have we done? So we pick up the weapon. You see it says load weapon. Okay. Here is our interface. It's not there yet. We press E. If you're a console player, it'll be X. Now we have it. Okay. So now anytime I press the mouse button, it's going to want to fire, but we haven't added those functions yet. And it only fires in the direction that the gun is facing. Remember that. Okay. So let's connect the fire function to the script. Step number 2. We're done with the proximity prompt. We've got our loading sound. Now we need it to fire, okay? So, what do we need for the function script? The function script, we need to say this. And that actually is, yeah, script.parent, and it's not function, it's action. On server event connect. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the script is now going to wait for this to change, and it will change once we change this variable. That's how we're able to chain these functions. So we say if variable is equal to fire, then, and now everything we want the game to do when we throw. So the first thing we want to do is let's test to see if it actually. So we'll say gun. Fire, and we just need a sound. Ooh, that's pretty cool. All right, so we'll insert that, but let's just change this to just so it's easier for us. Fire gun, right? Put that here in the handle. Okay. So we want to say script.parent.firegun play. Now let's just test that out. So every time I click the mouse, it should make the gun sound. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we have that. So now we're starting to build the weapon. Now what we want to do is say, okay, let's limit the amount of times we can shoot the gun. So we want to insert an object. Let's just go a number value. This is going to be, we'll name this ammo. All right, and we can set that to 10. Let's just whatever you want it to be. It can be 25, 50. Okay. When we throw the variable, the first thing we want to check is what the value of fscript.parent.ammo. Now what we can do is we can actually, instead of having to, we can make a variable for that. We can say local ammo equals script.parent.ammo, and that way it just references it, right? We can say if ammo is greater than 1, then play through the loop, else if I would say else let's see, if ammo is greater than, I guess it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We can just do that. So it'll do that if we have more than one round in there. Okay? We need another sound. Let's get another sound. Toolbox. Let's go gun empty. Yeah, there we go. So we'll insert that. And this will be empty, okay? So we'll say script.parent.empty, play. So if it has greater than 1 ammo in there, it will fire. But as soon as it gets to 1, it'll stop firing. Now I know you're saying, well, we should be able to completely empty it to 0. I know that. But when we get into adding ammo later on and that kind of stuff, you don't want it to go to 0. It could be kind of confusing with the code. So we load it. And just to show... Oh, you know what? We want to do one more thing here. We also want to tell it every time we fire to change that value. Okay, and then so it makes the sound, and then we want to say ammo equals ammo minus 1. See if that's going to work. Not the player interface. There's the weapon on the player. So there we have 10 shots. What's going on? Compare instance. Oh, tip to nil with fire server. All right, let's see what I did wrong here in the local script. Value fire server fire. Yeah, okay, I think that's what I've got. Oh. Do I have to put the value in there? No. Script apparent gun dot value. Script dot parent. Dot value. Oh yes. Dot value. Dot value. That's right. If I want to do that. Okay. That should work. What's the other one here? Compare number to instance. Oh, if ammo dot value. There we go. That helps. Alright, so there's the ammo. You can see we have 10 in there. Oh, now it doesn't like the fire server part. Script up parent. Dot value. Dot value. Huh. What did I do wrong? It's either, okay, hold on. What did I do wrong here? I don't think it's that. I think it might actually be this. Let me check the proximity prompt script. UI dot value. Let me make sure. Yeah. Dot gun dot value is equal to the remote event. Parent dot action. UI. Parent. I should just rename this. It's just, I'm having trouble here with the binding of it. Line 9. Doesn't like this part here, the fire server. So let's try this. No, let's try dot. Let's take that there and let's try dot value. No, dot value. Let's try this. There we go. Oh yeah. And now we're out. So what did I have to do there? It was having trouble. Where are we here? It was having trouble with this object value, right? So I named the object value for the variable, and then I had to name this part of it in the code. Otherwise, as you saw, it was just giving me errors. So that's just sort of one of the things that kind of comes up when you're programming. Like I say, I'm not a professional at any degree, just self-taught learning, trying to just let's go over what we know and just keeping it simple. I'm sure there's another way to write this better or whatever. It is what it is. So we have our 3. Let's recap what we have done so far, in case you're lost. The first thing we did was we made our weapon, which was just taking 2 blocks and welding them together. And then we added them into a tool so we could hold the weapon in our hand. The next thing we needed to do was create an interface which allows us to interact with the weapon through the server instead of just locally from the player to the object. In order to do that, we needed to add a proximity prompt and some code, which allows us to 1, bind this value with this value, and 2, clone this interface to the player. And that way, when we cast values to the server, such as pressing the mouse button, it's going to allow us to do things. Then what we needed to do is we needed to create a script on the weapon which handles the values that are being cast to the server. In this case, we are asking the server to change the ammo amount and play some sounds. Additionally, so now what we can sort of get into, where are we at here on this one here? Oh, not bad, about 30 minutes, yeah. So now we can get into the firing of the actual projectile. Now what I'm doing is I'm copying and pasting, I understand that. So this is one to speed up the video. You can always, we're gonna go over the code and then you can pause it, because you're probably gonna need to pause it anyways just to copy the code. But I'll go over it here essentially. So what we're doing is we're telling it to wait for a moment. Here, we're just gonna get this. Let's see, where would this set up? We'll go over the first part and I'll add it. Okay, so what we're doing is we create a local, which is getting the server storage. And then what we need to do is, I don't know why, I don't even think we actually need this right now. Because we're not using the server storage, are we? No, we're not. Not anymore. Perfect. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to create a part. We need to create the cannonball. As you can see, I got it from somewhere else. So we need to create the projectile that we're firing. So we name it, and then we say, let's create it. So we say instance.newPart. That's going to create a part on the workspace. Then what we need is a size. This is our size. Then these are the variables that we need. So this is the color of it. In this case, I told it to be neon. Now the shape. When you look at an object, okay, over here, down here, it says shape. And you can see it says block. I'm sure there's a number value for that. So that's where these numbers are for. Like I say, you have to look it up. I didn't actually look it up. I just found some code, modified it, and now we're making a video. Okay, so then likewise with these number values here, at 0, you just keep them the same. So you need to write down the shape, bottom surface, top surface. We named it, in this case, the bullet type. Why do we name it? Because when you fire the gun, it's going to create this object in the workspace, and we want to be able to limit how many of those objects the player can have in the workspace. So we're going to go over this. For now, just name it whatever you want. We're going to change that. That's the important part about getting the name of the player. Okay, elasticity, reflectance, friction, that is just stuff you're going to want. And then what we need to do is we need to say this is where it's going to shoot from. And then, of course, it does the ammo, right? You don't have to worry about this code here. I would ignore that because this local here is actually part of this local here. Okay, so we only need this part here. Now, where do we fit that in? We can fit it anywhere. Basically, as soon as you tell it to fire, we can tell it to wait for just a moment, and then you can add the code. Then it's going to say, okay, what are we firing? Well, this is the object that we're firing, all right? Then what we need to do is we need to say, okay, where is the object going to fire from, and how does it move? So, for that, we just need this little bit of code here. And that's it. To there. That's all we need. So let's go over that. First thing we need to do is we need to say where are we going to shoot the gun from. In this case, I have the barrel there. We named it shooter, so I'll change it here. That's what we named it. Was shooter in ours. So you know what, let's do this. Let's just copy this then. Let's go over it on this one here, okay? Let's just go over it. This is going to be shooter. And it'll be script dot parent dot shooter. Script. Oh no, it will be dot parent. Dot shooter. That's the barrel. Okay, so you need that first because we're using that. If you just copy the code for what it is, you're going to be saying barrel here, barrel there, okay? And then cannonball down here. So this is where it shoots from. Then we create the missile, instance.new part, okay? It's the same thing as we did here for the cannonball, right? And then what we do is we give it a spawn position, which is the shooter. This here is direction X, direction Y, direction Z, okay? So we want it to shoot linear, direction X, and as you can see, math.random. You can make it 0, 0 if you want it to shoot straight, and you can dial that in. That's pretty much that. And then this is your Y value, this is your Z value. We're gonna go over that when we make rockets. That's gonna be important. Now our magnitude, as you can see, I have the magnitude turned down lower. If you want to shoot objects and have them change the properties when your bullet hits them, you might need to slow down the velocity a little bit because the server has that latency and it might not recognize that it's being hit. I'm sure there's other ways around that, okay? So that's all this is. Direction X, direction Y, direction Z, and then we have our local magnitude. So these are the properties that we need, okay? Then what we need is our velocity. So velocity is the barrel C frame, and then I had to figure this out. We need the vector to world space, vector 3.new, and we're going to take the magnitude and we're going to add it to the direction X, Y, and Z, and then it's going to fire in that direction. It's basically as simple as that. When we get into missiles, it's even easier. You just take the vector 3 and you multiply it. Take the C frame and you multiply it, and it'll start moving around, and it'll be really cool. But we'll get into that eventually here. Then we need our missile position, which is the spawn position. We need the velocity, and then we just tell it to parent it to the workspace, so that way we can find it, right? So let's just go over that. Now you can pause it here, you can write that down. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to press play just like you're doing in your video, and what kind of errors are going to come up, okay? There, look at that. Except it's shooting at 90 degrees. So this is probably the front of the object. Do you see what I'm getting at? So then we have to rotate this like this. All right? This is the easiest thing we can do, is we just rotate the barrel of the gun like that, right? Now it should shoot straight. Yes, you see that? Now you see there's a little bit of a delay. There's latency there, and you see it doesn't actually appear in the server until that's that offset, right? So that's what I'm saying. If you're trying to shoot out a window or something, just be mindful and remind the players, like, please don't be so hard on me. This is a custom weapon. And that's it. And that's all there is to it. It's as simple as that. So that is our easy peasy weapon. Hopefully you follow through in the tutorial and you have something that looks like this. Again, pause it when you're looking at this. Pause it. But as you can see, as long as you have this code, it's okay. So in the next video, we will go over adding ammunition. Basically, it's just another part. Instead of a pistol, it's ammo. It has a number value on it. You activate a prompt, and it'll reload this weapon and disappear, right? And then what we can get into as well, we'll get into casting damage to the player. Because right now, there's still no way to give damage to anybody, right? It just shoots projectile. And you'll see in the workspace, there's it's actually shooting 2 projectiles at a time. Now why that is, so let's go over that and see why it's shooting 2 projectiles at a time. That is because I've told it to first look to see if it already exists. All right, so some code. We say local remove. We tell it game.workspace find first child 3mm. This name is going to change, but that's the name of the bullet. If it's there, get rid of it. So when we pick up the gun, it fires 1. And now, as you see, there's only ever 1. Every time you fire, there's only ever going to be 1. Oh, whoops. There should only ever be 1 bullet in there. Then we also have to restrict this part too, because it's needs to be part of this if statement, right? If ammo is greater than 1, here's what you want to do. Is there already a bullet in the workspace? If there is, get rid of it, create a new one, and fire it. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here. There we go. Now there's 1 in there, 2, and we'll show that the ammo is also going down. It is not going down. Why is that? Script dot parent dot ammo dot value. I wonder if I can't do. I wonder if I have to do the same thing. If I have to say dot value here and down here. Let's try that. As you saw, it's something changed and now it's not changing the value. Now it's going down by 2 at a time. Every time I click the mouse. Interesting. I wonder if that, let's see. Let's say weight has to do with that. Let's see. Now we enter the testing phase, right? We have our weapon, and now we need to test. Why is it shooting 2 bullets at a time? It shouldn't be double firing the value, although it could be double firing the value. Yeah, it's taking this as 2. It's shooting 2 bullets at a time. That's not desirable. I wonder if that's because of that as well. Creates the cannonball and then it shoots it. Interesting. I guess in that case, instead of creating it, I wonder if we do this instead. We just make a custom projectile. Something like that. And then we just put that into the server storage. And we call that ammo. And then let's just see this here. We could say game dot server storage dot ammo. Let's try that. Oh yeah, there it is. Hey. It's still shooting 2 at a time. That didn't solve the problem. It didn't solve the problem. But there you go. So you can do it. There's 2 ways to do it. You can have a custom, or you can do the cannonball. So we'll keep it this way here. So I don't know why it's shooting 2 at a time. That's an interesting issue. Too much of a delay. Yeah, it still shoots 2 at a time. Why is that? I'm telling it to only go down by 1, but every time I click the mouse, it's thinking it's clicking it twice. Well, I'll have to figure that part out, and then in the next video, I'm sure I'll figure it out here. In the next video, we'll go over why that is. See, it doesn't matter that it's firing 2, but what does matter is that Maybe if I do this, what matters is really is that value there. You know, it's just. All right, well, let's compare it to the one that I have. Oh, you see, in this script here, I remove the first one. Okay, maybe that's what I gotta do. Let's take this and let's put it down here. Let's see if that solves any of these issues. I'm just trying to keep it the same as I have here. So we have the cannonball, and then we have, it plays the sound, and it says, and then it checks to see if the value, interesting, okay, and then it does the value. All right, let's see if we can do that. So it destroys it. Oh, do I not have that in the if statement either? I don't. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. So only the second part of the code is in the if statement. This here. This is how I have it written. Plays the sound. Yeah, that's it. And then at the very bottom, what it does is it changes the value at the bottom after it's fired the projectile. It changes the value here. Still going. I don't know. Still going down by 2. Okay. Let me check the other weapon that I have then. The one I made. It doesn't even work. Oh, how does it check? Maybe how does it check the? Weird. Yeah, script apparent ammo.value. Right. Weird. Look at that. It's not even. We go to me, and then there's the pistol in the workspace. This is the gun that I'm holding in my hand. And then when I look at the ammo value, oh yeah, there it goes. It worked that time. And then we have the script. It's all the same code. It's just there's no latency on the wait. Oh, maybe I'm telling it to wait here. Maybe that could be what it is. Let's see if we can figure this out. Let's tell this one to wait. Okay, and then we'll get rid of that one. But that's it, right? It's just going through and saying, okay, well how do I get this to function? No, it's still going down by 2. How odd. So now what is it? What's the difference here? Well, I mean, that's okay. The latency on the button. Maybe it works better if it's already in my backpack. Yeah, it's still shooting by 2. Oh, I have to turn this script off. Script dot parent dot no UI dot local script dot enabled. No, is it that one? Hold on a second. Let me check. This was happening to me before. No, not this one. This one here. Yeah, see, I had to turn off the local script. This one here. So we need to say UI dot local script dot enabled equals false. There we go. How funny, huh? Okay, it works now. It works. So that's what we had to do. It wasn't so much about changing around the code. It was mostly we just had to disable that. So, okay, let's conclude the video. Let's recap what we did. So, once again, we made a weapon. All right. We had to make an interface for the weapon. What the interface does is it binds the mouse to this variable. So every time we click the mouse, it does the variable. We then had to clone the interface. So here's where the error was. When you clone the interface from the pistol to the player, there's an interface on the pistol and there's an interface on the player. It doesn't destroy this one and then only have one on the player. It needs to have both. So what we then need to do is we need to disable the local script. So only the variables from the player are being, that's why it was firing twice. All right, so that's what we need to do. So we bind, give it some values. We need an object value, which is here. We say this is the interface. We bind it to the mouse. So anytime you click your mouse in the space, it fires. Perfect, okay? Then what we did with the proximity prompt, we found out where the prompt was, where the interface was. We said when we trigger the proximity prompt, the player, this is what we're going to do these things. Now, one more thing that we need to do to add on to here is we need to go right, we need to insert object, string value, okay? This needs to be named player. What we also need to do is we need to say script parent.player .value equals player.name. Now the name of the player is going to be in that object, okay? We disable the proximity prompt, we play a sound, We disable the local script on the interface, and then we set the name of the player here. All right. Then the last thing we do is we have our function script, which is attached to a remote event, and we tell it what to do. When we click the mouse, then we say fire, we create a part, and then we clone that part and shoot it across the world. Now, we're here where we go to the name, Cannonball name. What we can do is, instead of that, we can say script. We can say script.parent .player.value. And then when we can say remove, we can say script.parent.player.value. But then what we also need to do is we need to say I think that's right. Let me double check here. Huh. That was odd. Hold on a second here. What's going on here? How come we disappeared? Okay, that was weird. Yeah, so see how it shows up as 3mm? I think we can go, so if we change this to script parent player.name. Let's try that first off. Hopefully we don't disappear this time. Oh, I know why, because it deleted me. Okay, so you see how it shoots the object? The object's called player. Why is the object called player? Oh, because I said .name. Script.parent.player.value. There we go. So now if we say bullet, I think we can do that. Yeah, there we go. Now it has the player's name and the bullet. So now we can track it in the space. So then when we come back here to the function script and we want to remove it, what we do is we can look for this instead. Like that. There we go. And now we're able to track the bullet based on the player's name. Now that works. Then what we need to do is inside the bullet itself, we would need to insert. After it's done all this, we would have to say local value equals instance.new, and then we need to create a string value. And this will be in the cannonball. And then we'll say value dot value equals, well, we said value dot name. Yeah, we could say we could say creator, and then we could say value dot value equals there we go, script.parent.player.value. Cool. just like that. So now if we create it, basically this is how so there's two ways that we can do this. So you can have it set up so that way whenever a gun fires, it fires a bullet into the workspace. Now what I'm saying is it's going to be kind of hard to track, because if you have a whole bunch of players firing their weapons and they're all firing the same object, you know, then it's going to be hard for you. The server is going to be overwhelmed by all these objects. So we need to be able to keep track of how many objects are spawned into the world at any given time. So what we're doing is so we create this bullet, right? And now, cool, excellent. There, you saw that? So we just need to give it a value, and the value could be 3mm. Okay, that could be the bullet type. So now what we've done is we're shooting the object. It has the player's name, so we can track it as the player's name, but then it also has a specific value which is universal. Right? That's 3mm is the universal value. So now when we shoot that object at a window, when we use the code in the window to detect the object, we can say if hit.value equals 3mm, then we can do what we want. And that's how you're able to clean up the bullets that the players fire, and how you're also able to use the bullets to change the properties of parts. That is going to be part 2. This is part 1, making a simple weapon. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. Played through it. You saw the revisions I had to make. This is the final version. So this code here is the code that you want, and it'll work the way that it does just in this video. This is the functions code. All right, I'm just pausing for a minute so that way, you know, this is the local code, which is going to go inside the interface. Really simple. And this is the code for the button. Really simple. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will get back to them and try and answer them as best I can. Thank you so much for watching part 1. Like I say, in part 2, we're going to go through adding the hitbox so the players can take damage, and then using the projectile to change the properties of parts, breaking a window, changing a part color, things of that nature. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all then.